Hi, everybody. Welcome to our second live streaming video. I'm just going to real quickly see if I can see any comments while I'm on here. That way, if there's any questions coming through that I can see them. Let's see. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and get started. So, second week of our YouTube live sessions. First one was interesting. I'm definitely going to try to talk slower this time, so I'm not just getting all my topics done in about 5 minutes, just making sure I'm not sitting in the dark. So this week's video is supposed to have the topics of nutrition as well as recovery. So I think two of the biggest overlooked items while we're working from home are those two, nutrition wise and recovery. I know there's been a lot of at home workouts and just makeshift videos of trying to get the movement in while we're at home, but we also need to address the recovery side of it too. So if we're putting a lot of stress on ourselves trying to get these workouts in, but we're taking away from sleep time or stretching or getting the right fuel in throughout the day, then they don't really balance out very well. So besides working out at home and getting creative and using whatever equipment you have, we'll first touch on nutrition. So, how do we create a new normal of keeping up with that now that we're basically at home, maybe sitting a little bit too close to the fridge? Easy access food, all that kind of stuff. So, I think the first thing that we can work on or make a goal this week is mindfulness. And this is something that I touched on in the accountability challenge that's also going on right now. And just being really aware of your own uh, feelings, like hunger wise. And there's kind of a chart you can go off to rate it. And I think building more awareness and just maybe giving yourself to reflect on before just reaching for the next snack um, can help build more awareness, can help with overeating, eating the right food, that kind of stuff. So the first thing, and kind of going off of a blog post on exosathome.com, some simple strategies to kind of making that routine again is think about what your routine was when you actually were going to work. Like, did you wake up, have breakfast, then you have that break because you're driving to work, you're at your desk, you have your lunch break at a specific time, you have the afternoon snack, you're driving home and you get dinner. The pros and cons with this routine, maybe if you didn't have a chance to get breakfast because of your commute, then now's the time that we can start doing that. So having time to put something together, even if you have Zoom videos, uh, pretty much a time budget. Like, we still have things to do. It's not saying that we just wake up and have all the time in the world, but we do have access to our kitchen and less time commuting and doing other tasks to get to work. So trying to use that time to fill in the gaps of making a meal, even if it's just a smoothie, something really quick. Eggs and English muffin, something you can put together that's really simple, but um, more real food versus just packaged or skipping it entirely. The next thing that you can do is uh, cook things in bulk. So if you're used to having like meal preps, if you weren't buying food from the cafeteria, um, making these individual meals, we can almost simplify that now because if we're spending a lot of time at home, if we cook in bulk, then we don't have to worry about weighing or making things in separate meals and using up a whole bunch of Tupperware. Just think one day you cook up a whole bunch of vegetables, maybe for about 1 or 2 days ahead, just so you can keep things fresh. You can bulk cook rice or quinoa and keep that for quite a while, like a week's worth. And then some sort of protein, whether it's fish, chicken, beef, or if you're plant based, just having a mixture of a grain and a legume, so that you do get that complete protein. And just having those both items available might be easier to put something together when you are suddenly craving food or looking for a meal. That's easy instead of reaching for like the bag of chips in your cabinet. And that's another thing you can work on is maybe if you know that you are going to have too much of one thing, then you can just keep it out of your house, or just set a time where that's your snack and you can practice moderation and proper serving sizes, because you shouldn't have to think of staying at home nutrition is not starving yourself and trying to lose weight. We can just kind of change our mindset and think of now we have a little bit more time to get quality food, um, and be in more control of when you can have them. So just kind of a different attitude on that, and take stress out of the nutrition side of it. As far as grocery shopping, so trying to avoid like the lines and just being in grocery stores and dealing with that. If you haven't found a routine to help, I highly suggest Instacart or some other makeshift app where you can order your groceries online. I believe Whole Foods, you can do it too. I haven't gotten the pickup thing to work, so I can't really promote that much myself. Uh, but you can pretty much take all the groceries you want and just have them delivered to your door. So A, it saves time from having to go make a quest to the grocery store, standing in line, and B, uh, the foods that you choose right there delivered to your door, so you're less likely to head down the snack aisle a couple too many times. Um, and if you're looking for, well, what foods should you even be getting? There is another blog post that has 30 kitchen staples, and a little PDF that you can download that's even got a checklist, and it hits all different categories of foods. So you can choose a couple from each, and put that in your cart or your shopping list. So you're not just getting a whole bunch of vegetables and no proteins, whether it's meat or vegetable based, your grains, um, and creating that balance throughout the week. And then the last thing, but definitely one of the most important, is consistency. So we can have a good day of eating as far as timing, what it was, how much you had, but a day is, it's not in the long term, it's not going to do a lot of for you if you're worrying about making any sort of body composition changes or just health related changes. That day is something that you just have to build off of and start challenging yourself to saying, hey, I made it a week of being this consistent. Let's see if I can do it a second week, and really just challenge yourself to keep those habits going. And it should get a lot easier from there out, because the choices aren't as complicated to make, because if you already have a routine, then you don't have to worry about getting random ingredients and starting over with new recipes and making all these gourmet meals, because if you know what you like, then you can just carry on with that. And at first it's kind of tinkering with having enough food and feeling satisfied and not always hungry, um, and those kind of things. So you learn to adapt to that, but starting out is definitely the hardest part. So it's all about just consistency there. Um, Another thing is immunity. So another reason to work on your nutrition right now is because, I mean, the whole reason we're at home is because of a virus. So taking care of yourself as far as having a quality immune system is very important right now, because it's not just about staying away from other people and not touching things and washing your hands. It's also about how your body's actually responding to all these factors. So we've still got a lot of stress from being at home, having a different routine, having a lot of extra stress now to try to make up for uh, not having the plan that you used to have. So our body is physically stressed, mentally stressed. If we're not sleeping enough, we're not recovering. So getting quality nutrients in, like your vegetables, maybe some vitamins, some supplements, if you're not getting quality fruits and vegetables, is key to building a strong immune system. So all those kind of things combined, as far as consistency, the right foods, how much, when, and continuing with that is something that can become a habit. So I'm starting to ramble. So I'm going to move on from the nutrition. I did have a question about frozen fruits and vegetables. So, and are they bad for you? I actually had this question a really long time ago, and frozen food. The good thing about frozen fruits and vegetables is usually when they are harvested, they're flash frozen right away, which is actually really good for retaining those nutrients. So just think, luckily we're in California, so the distance traveled from where your fruits and vegetables came to when they're in the grocery stores to when they're in your fridge, the transit time might be a lot shorter than someone kind of in the middle of the country and getting more so green vegetables. Uh, so if you think if they're frozen right away, then they're retaining their nutrients for a longer amount of time. Up to a year is when they start losing that kind of value. So frozen would be on the good side if you do want to stock up. Uh, but I highly recommend going to farmers markets to get your vegetables. Obviously, that's not a choice that you have right now, so frozen is definitely fine. I think the second step to having frozen fruits and vegetables is how to prepare them. So the two factors that affect frozen food is the heat and how long they're cooked for. So if you're cooking your frozen vegetables on high for a long time, they're probably not going to retain their nutrients. And so your options there are steaming and even microwaving, because it's a shorter amount of time and then they're done. So just think how well you can cook something on low heat. So even if you're sauteing vegetables together, um, keeping it on low and then trying not to overcook them unless you're making like a soup or whatever the recipe calls for. Just be aware that the longer you're actually cooking these things, the more likely they are to start losing their nutrients. And I think the nutrient they said that goes away the fastest is vitamin D. So luckily, we live in a very sunny place that we can actually go outside, get your 20-minute walk in, get some exposure to sun, or supplement. Those are your options there. So frozen fruit and vegetables, good. I will add to that that canned fruit and vegetables is a little bit different. So I think priority wise, if you can get fresh, go for that. Second option is frozen if you know it's going to be a while before you cook these vegetables, or if you do want to stock up and avoid having to go to supermarkets or order online or deal with any of that. Frozen is awesome. Just be aware of how you prepare it. And then last would be canned fruits and vegetables. So when they're canned, they will have a lot of sodium added to them or sugar, and those will both degrade the nutrients available in those vegetables. So just be aware of what your options are. Something's better than nothing, but if you can avoid canned, then that would be your best choice, is to not go that path. Um, Cool. So moving on from that is recovery. So the second thing that gets kind of overlooked, going back to what I started this conversation was, is we're all getting worked up on our at-home workouts, and trying to make time for that is great. I highly recommend getting your workouts in every day. But the one thing that's overlooked is the recovery side. So we still need to take time to get those stretches in, and not just static stretching. It's the dynamic movements, it's the mobility drills, it's the diaphragmatic breathing, all that kind of stuff. Because the static stretching might feel good temporarily, and it's a good short term fix. So say if you're sitting at your desk for a long amount of time, we kind of get those neck stretches in, stretch out our arms, shoulders a little bit. It's just a temporary fix. So working on improving our range of motion, and movement quality, it definitely counts as a stretch break, because if you're including some sort of balance, mobility drills, we're looking to improve something versus kind of getting a cold muscle, pulling on it a little bit, because it's just going to go back to being tight. So dedicating a little bit more time, I'd say you could go 5 to 15 minutes for a whole dynamic movement session. But I think that the benefits of that are much more than just a brief static stretch. Uh, so with that is also sleeping. So making sure that uh, we're getting enough sleep a night, and the tools that we could use to get there, since we are at home pretty much right next to where we sleep, how do we switch that off? There is an Exos blog about that as well. But it's again, it's all about consistency and creating that schedule where, okay, you know what, at this time I'm done. I'm going to get ready to wind down my day. You could take a hot shower at the end of the day. Some people work out, and that helps. Sometimes it has the opposite effect, and you feel awake and ready to go to sleep. But just creating a routine of ending your day, lowering the thermostat, getting a diffuser with lavender or another scent that kind of promotes calmness, chamomile tea, all that kind of stuff. Just finding what works for you and sticking to it is very beneficial. Um, so going again on the recovery side, there's a lot of other things we can do besides our dynamic movements, mobility work, improving range of motion. There's contrast showers, there's ice baths, there's massage tools, um, including, oh, I spaced out. So uh, I'll just start with the contrast showers. So uh, at the end of your shower, after you're done doing everything you're doing, if you can move your temperature to the coldest setting and practice your breathing. So the 6 second inhale, the 2 second hold, and the 6 second exhale. And as the water moves to cold, really focus on that breathing and see if you can keep the water on cold until it feels normal again. And then you would bring it back up to the normal temperature you had it at, and repeat that cycle, even if it's twice, 3 times, as you get used to it. If you can just add that in at the end of your shower, it's really good for your circulation, and usually just kind of feel refreshed after that. So that's something that's worth trying. Ice baths, those are good too. You could just fill up your bath, obviously, with cold water, and then if you can, add some of I add some ice into there just to make sure it's cold enough. Um, and then just try like a 15-minute ice bath. And it's kind of the same thing. Just focus on your breathing, 15 minutes, or at least until it starts to feel normal. The ideal situation would be flowing water, so kind of a whirlpool effect. But I don't think we all live in performance centers that have whirlpool ice tanks. So just a makeshift version of that would be super helpful. Again, circulation, kind of a refreshing feeling. And it doesn't have to be every day. I don't recommend doing that every day. But that is definitely something that you can try to make time for, even if it's on the weekend. Just say, this weekend, I'm going to try to add in some sort of regenerative therapy to my day. Is worth a try. As far as recovery tools, so there's the resistance bands that you can kind of attach to something stable as an anchor point that you can use to stretch out upper body, just kind of pulling against them, pulling away. You can lay down and hold a band on the bottom of your foot to stretch out your hamstrings. And these are things you can even do with a towel. I believe I touched on this last week. Anything that you can kind of hang on to, or if you check the most recent SRA Fit Center Instagram post, I just did 2 stretches using a couch, and I think everyone has one of those. So, and that took like 5 minutes. Another thing I actually showed up today was I got one of these guys. So the massage tool from Hyperice. I'm excited to try this out. It's not charged yet because it actually just showed up before 2:30, but it comes with the massage tool. You could charge it, and then it's got all these different attachments for massaging. So kind of different areas, different pressures, and then there's different speeds that you can control it with. So excited to try that out because that's actually one of my goals, is to start doing better about my recovery and not feeling tight and tired. So so good luck with that. I'll definitely set aside some time to use that thing before and after I work out. Also, Skills is having a sale on massage equipment. So I believe they have a few different massage balls that you can use. And they've got a stick that reaches over to get your back, which I actually am thinking about getting that, but we'll see. I can just use that instead. But they've got a whole page of different tools that you can use for recovery, which are very important for getting that in. As far as soft tissue manipulation, obviously it's not as good as a massage, but we can't get that right now either. So yeah, I believe it's 25% off, and I posted that on the Instagram story. So if you were interested in getting any equipment like that, today is the day, because it's a one-time coupon, and I'm sure based on availability of what they have, the sooner the better to take advantage of that. So moving on, there's also added classes on the Exos at Home live streaming schedule, like yoga, meditation, breathing exercises, as well as the other like sport performance and extended strength workout um, show. There's show, program, class, whatever you want to call it. I would highly recommend adding that to your weekly schedule to make kind of an active recovery day. It would include 20-30 minute walk, 60 minutes if you can make that work, coming back, doing one of the mobility classes, and if it's not on the schedule, there's a YouTube playlist that you can access 1-2. So getting your walk in, getting your mobility class, using one of the massage tools, whether it's just a ball, tennis ball, golf ball. Golf balls are actually great for relieving tense muscles, and then trying out a contrast shower. So that would be kind of the perfect active recovery day. So maybe try planning one of those guys out. Another thing, if you are having issues watching the Zoom videos, you actually just have to switch VPNs, or if you have a personal device that's on your own Wi-Fi or your own data plan, then you can easily continue watching those Zoom videos. Otherwise, you just have to access the YouTube playlist, and that might not have the sessions that are recorded at that moment, but they will be loaded. So you could just be a couple days behind, but still getting those quality classes in. So that's all I have for today. I think I rambled a little bit less than last time, and I talked a little bit slower. So I'm just going to check one more time. I don't think I'm getting any comments anywhere. I don't believe. So tune in next time. I'll switch up the topics and then check for any questions that I can answer this week moving into the next one. All right, guys. Bye.